Hi, I'm Dr. Armin Feldman, and thanks for asking me to send you more information about doing medical legal consulting. First thing, I want to reiterate, I'll be providing you with your cases after you've gone through a short training. After you've watched this video, click on the link below, click here to let me know you've seen the video, and I'll give you a call as soon as I can. On the call, I'll answer all your questions, and then we'll determine if taking on cases is a good fit for both of us. The way this conversation has gone well with other physicians is for me to give you an idea of the typical kinds of consults you'll be doing and to let you know about the training. First, let's talk about the cases. In 90% of the cases on which I consult, the case winds up getting settled. In 100% of the cases I do, I'm working on cases in the pre-trial, pre-litigation phase. There are 4 or 5 kinds of consults I do routinely and that you'll do routinely, and I'll tell you about those consults in just a moment. First, let me tell you what I don't do. I don't do any medical malpractice cases, and I don't do any expert witness work. The work is either in personal injury cases or workers' compensation cases. In the PI cases, I work on the plaintiff side. In the workers' comp cases, I work on the claimant side. And in these two areas of the law, that's really working on the side of the little guy going up against the insurance companies. Let me mention just a couple of other things, and then I'll tell you about the cases. The average case takes 5 to 10 hours. You have to have time to do at least 1 or 2 cases a month. Otherwise, it's not advantageous for either of us for you to come on board. The other issue is that the work I do and that you'll be doing is not specialty oriented. I answer questions for attorneys that cover the entire field of medicine. If you're not comfortable with that idea, this work isn't for you. One thing I can tell you is that the attorneys with whom I work don't expect me to be a walking, talking encyclopedia of medicine. They know in order for me to give them good answers to their questions, I'll have to do research. I charge for my research time, and they don't have a problem with that. I will tell you that some physicians I talk with just aren't comfortable commenting on anything outside their specialty area, and others, myself included, haven't found that to be an obstacle to doing this kind of work. Now, let me tell you about some typical cases. One of the things that I do routinely is to provide medical summary reports. The attorney will get me the medical records for the case, and after I review them, I'll interview the client of the attorney. For my purposes, 95% of the time, I'm able to do that interview by phone. I'll then do whatever research is necessary, and then I'll put a report together. I'll talk about the incident, the injuries incurred, the mechanism of injury, and I always talk about causation. The bulk of my report concerns my opinions regarding ongoing medical problems. I'll then review the medical treatment to date, and then give my opinions regarding future medical care and costs in chart and narrative form. The attorneys are using my reports as part of their settlement demand letters, and the consistent feedback I'm getting is that by using my reports, they're settling cases for more money with less attorney time. In the legal world, for the purposes of negotiating and settling a case, what the attorney needs are well thought out medical opinions backed up by evidence from the medical literature. I work as a medical consultant to attorneys. I don't work as a medical expert, and neither will you. So in most cases, using my reports and other services, the attorney will settle the case for better value and get the appropriate medical care for their clients. Now, getting back to the work not being specialty oriented, let's take a look at a typical case. For example, someone is stopped at a red light, someone else rear-ends them at 40 miles an hour. In my report, I could be commenting on post-concussive headaches, a ruptured disc at C4 or 5, various soft tissue injuries, a fractured ankle, and the onset of depression. We can talk more about the work when we speak on the phone. In the one case out of 10 that doesn't settle and will be litigated, in other words, the attorney will do depositions and then go to trial. The attorney will need experts in every area of injury. Obviously, I'm not going to hold myself out as an expert in a variety of fields, so I'm not called on to act as an expert witness. Another service I offer is to answer specific medical questions in cases. I've answered hundreds of these. Let me give you an example. A guy was walking home late at night in January past a construction site that wasn't well marked, and he fell into a 5-foot deep hole. He broke several bones, he was knocked unconscious, and he got hypothermia. In fact, he almost died. While hospitalized, it was discovered that he had developed diabetes with no previous history of elevated blood sugars. The attorney asked me to take a look at the case. As with any opinion I render, I back up all of my opinions with evidence from the literature, and I can tell you in this case, I really didn't think I'd find anything. What I found is that it's actually pretty well described that in certain individuals with certain specific circumstances, physical trauma, or for that matter, emotional trauma, can in fact precipitate type 1 or type 2 diabetes. So I wrote up my report, I quoted the literature, and I gave the attorney my report along with the papers that I used. She wound up settling that case for a lot of money, and it turns out the case was worth more than the attorney originally anticipated, because she was able to successfully argue using my report that the diabetes was one of the damages in the claim. Another kind of consult I do routinely, and that you'll do as well, has to do with independent medical exams, or IMEs. We have kind of a crazy system in our country. It's the same all over. And what happens is that someone is injured in an accident, and eventually the injured person hires an attorney because whatever it means to them, they're not happy. Then the insurance side will hire their attorneys. The attorneys argue back and forth, and then they reach an impasse. Then the defense side, the insurance side, will say, well, we're at an impasse, let's settle it by getting an independent medical exam. I know that there are very good doctors who consistently do very good IMEs. I also know that in every community across the country, there is a group of physicians who make all of their income or most of their income doing IMEs. These doctors are under tremendous secondary gain pressure. In fact, if they don't consistently come down with opinions that favor the insurance position, the insurance company will find doctors who do. What attorneys ask me to do is to actually physically sit in and observe these IMEs. Then when the IME report comes back and is determined to be unfavorable to the case, and my opinion is such, attorneys will ask me to write an IME rebuttal report. By the way, the nice thing about being on this side of the fence, that is, working for plaintiff and claimant attorneys, is that the attorneys with whom I work are just as interested in knowing when I tell them they don't have a case as when I tell them that they do. These attorneys don't want to be carrying loser cases with their time and with their money. I base my opinions on my review of the medical records, my interview with the client, my observation of the history and the physical in the IME, and my review of the pertinent medical literature. I can tell you that this has become a phenomenally in-demand service, and on average, I attend 3 to 4 IMEs per week, and I write 2 to 3 IME rebuttals per week. Of course, you'll just do the number of cases that fits your situation. I also, and you will also, act as a liaison between attorneys and treating doctors. In addition, you'll do straight-up medical research, find medical experts, bring attorneys up to speed on various medical conditions, help attorneys develop medical theories for cases, and do reports specific to future medical care and costs. We can discuss your training in these areas when we talk by phone. The last thing that I do routinely, and that you'll do routinely, is standard of care reports. You know I don't get involved in medical malpractice cases, but I will do standard of care reports. At the risk of sounding a little like Pollyanna, I do these reports hoping to help doctors avoid the time, money, and stress involved in unnecessary lawsuits. That's not to say that at times I do read about some terrible things that have happened. The reports that I write for this purpose only usually become what's called work product. And work product is not discoverable. Once I deliver my report, I'm out of the case. So that gives you a pretty good idea of the work you'll do. Now, let me talk about getting you trained to do that work. The first thing you need to know is that I'll be available and other well-trained doctors will be available during regular business hours for your questions as you do cases. If physicians make any mistake when starting this work, it's actually not contacting us enough as they do cases, especially the first several cases. We'll review every one of your reports before they go out to the client attorney and make report suggestions if needed. You'll be responsible for making appropriate report changes when necessary. Everything else, all of your learning materials to get up to speed, is housed in a virtual back office on the internet. A virtual back office is just like a brick and mortar back office. It's where all of your tools of the trade are stored and where all of your learning materials are available. There's a manual in your back office covering every area of a training that you'll need. There's a chapter on writing great reports, on the ins and outs of IMEs, and other topics. There's also a sample redacted report library with over 30 reports that you can use as templates and to get up to speed on various common conditions that you'll see. There's a medical journal article links library to frequently used medical journal articles. There's also a list of physicians who will act as medical experts and other tools of the trade that you'll need. There are various forms, templates, and other tools that you'll use in your day-to-day activities as a consultant. So now, send me an email by clicking on the link below, and I'll call you. We can discuss all of this in more detail by phone. I'm available to answer all of your questions. Click here to let me know you've seen the video, and send me an email right now letting me know you want to talk further. Thanks for watching this video. I look forward to talking with you.